Keir Starmer, we all know what you've been up to, yeah? You've been exposed. The sooner you're gone, the better, okay? Because we've all had enough of you. You're the fascist, yeah?
Keir Starmer gets up in Parliament today at PMQs, and the first word that comes out of his mouth was talking about Jamaica and the hurricane. Now, don't get me wrong, it's sad what happened out there. But what about what's happening here, mate? A British man, Wayne Broadhurst, was out walking his dog in Uxbridge, stabbed to death by an Afghan illegal migrant for nothing, right? A 14-year-old boy was also stabbed by him, and a 45-year-old bloke is now being left with life-changing injuries.
I think Starmer, as we've seen, he's tripping up Britain on the world stage. You know, he likes to parade around as this great global, statesman. When the truth is, look, he's both dull and he's dangerous. You know, I would argue that he's damaging Britain's national interest. Let's break this down a bit.
Picture the scene. You are the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. You have spent the better part of 18 months telling everyone that change has arrived, and you have finally managed to get net migration down by a couple of 100,000. You are expecting a pat on the back, a celebratory tea, maybe even a polite nod from the King. Instead, you turn on the television to find thousands of people at the World Darts Championship at Alexandra Palace, a place usually reserved for fancy dress and excessive lager consumption, collectively screaming that you are a waka to the tune of a White Stripes song. It is the kind of festive gift that keeps on giving, and by giving, I mean it is absolutely cratering Keir Starmer's blood pressure. The Ally Pally crowd has officially entered the political arena, and they didn't bring olive branches. They brought 180s and a level of vitriol that makes a cabinet meeting look like a vicar's tea party. Quick favour, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks if you did. Now back to the show. The night the darts went political, we need to talk about what happened on Tuesday, December 23rd. While Sir Keir was likely looking forward to a quiet Christmas at number 10, the atmosphere at Alexandra Palace was anything but quiet. During a lull in the second-round match between Danny Noppert and Justin Hood, the crowd decided that the darts weren't quite exciting enough. They didn't chant for a 9-darter, they didn't chant for more beer. No, they broke into a thunderous, coordinated chorus of Keir Starmer is a waka. Thousands of people, many of them presumably the working-class voters Starmer claims to represent, joined in with a level of enthusiasm usually reserved for a winning goal in a World Cup final. This wasn't a one-off fluke. Just a few days earlier, on Saturday, December 20, the exact same thing happened. During a match between Nathan Aspinall and Leonard Gates, the crowd used the iconic riff of Seven Nation Army, you know the one, the Oh Jeremy Corbyn tune, but they replaced the former leader's name with a much less flattering description of the current one. And here is the kicker. Nathan Aspinall, a professional athlete on live television, was seen encouraging the chant, waving his arms to get the volume up. When the players on the stage are egging on the crowd to insult the Prime Minister, you know you have moved past minor PR hiccup and straight into national punchline territory. It's almost impressive, isn't it? To take a venue known for being the happiest place on earth for people who like wearing inflatable dinosaur suits and turn it into a hotbed of political insurrection. Sky Sports was reportedly so panicked by the noise that they tried to impose generic crowd effects over the audio, but you can't exactly mute 3,000 people who have had 4 pints of Stella and a burning desire to share their opinion on the Labour front bench. It is the ultimate nightmare for a Downing Street communications team that is desperately trying to sell a narrative of stability and renewal. Instead of renewal, they got a stadium full of people shouting the W word with the rhythmic precision of a military parade, the numbers that keep Starmer awake at night. If you think the chants are bad, wait until you see the polling data. Because while the Ally Pally crowd is noisy, the silent majority is being just as brutal. As of mid-December, Keir Starmer's favourability ratings have sunk to a depth that would make a submarine captain nervous. We are talking about a net score of -54. To put that in perspective, that is the same territory Boris Johnson inhabited on the very day he was forced to resign in 2022.1. It is the same level of unpopularity Jeremy Corbyn reached at his absolute nadir in 2019. After nearly a year and a half in office, only 1 in 6 Britons has a favourable opinion of the man, too. It is a fascinating bit of political physics. The more Starmer tries to look statesmanlike, the more the public seems to want to throw their shoes at the screen. YouGov's latest figures show that even among people who voted for Labour just last year, over 50% now view him unfavourably. That is a catastrophic loss of support in a very short space of time. It's like buying a brand new car, driving it off the lot, and having the engine fall out before you've even reached the first set of traffic lights. The new car smell of the Labour government has been replaced by the scent of burning rubber and public disappointment. The irony here is that the government has actually achieved some of its primary goals. Net migration fell by over 200,000 in the first 12 months. In any other era, a prime minister would be shouting that from the rooftops. But the public doesn't seem to care. Why? Because as the Labour Party chairwoman Anna Turley admitted, people haven't felt the change in their pockets. You can tell people the macroeconomics are improving until you are blue in the face, but if they are still struggling to pay for their heating or their weekly shop, your clear vision looks a lot like a blurry hallucination. The gap between the success the government claims and the struggle the public feels is where the anger at the darts comes from.
It's one that's appointed by the Prime Minister. So Sir Keir Starmer himself has appointed her to this position. And she does have a long history of left-wing politics.
In party insurrection and the C-word fury. Now, let's get to the C-word mentioned in the headlines. While the darts crowd was busy with the W word, things outside the Prime Minister's office have been getting even more heated. Reports have emerged of protesters, including disgruntled farmers who are still fuming over changes to inheritance tax and agricultural subsidies, chanting some truly choice words directly in front of his office. The C-word here isn't just a slur, it is a symbol of a rural population that feels completely abandoned by a metropolitan elite. When farmers, the traditional backbone of British stability, start showing up at your door with placards and a vocabulary that would make a sailor blush, you have a serious problem. Inside the party, the atmosphere isn't much better. Rumours of a briefing war and a full-blown insurrection are swirling around Westminster. We have heard that Health Secretary Wes Streeting had to publicly deny he was trying to unseat Sir Keir, while others are whispering about a joint leadership ticket with Angela Rayner. When your own ministers have to spend their Sunday morning interviews insisting that you will absolutely still be Prime Minister next Christmas, it is usually a sign that people are already measuring the curtains for your replacement. It is the political equivalent of a football manager receiving the dreaded vote of confidence from the board. We all know how that usually ends, with a cardboard box and a walk to the car park. The energy in number 10 is described as tense, which is likely the British understatement of the century. Starmer is a man who likes order, process and legalistic certainty. He is currently facing a world that is chaotic, emotional, and frankly, quite rude. The C-word fury isn't just about a single insult, it is about a loss of control. The Prime Minister is finding out that you can win an election with a massive majority, but if you lose the vibe of the country, that majority is just a very expensive paperweight. He is losing the room, and the room in this case is the entire United Kingdom. The pocket defence, a bold strategy. Enter Anna Turley, the chairwoman of the Labour Party, who has been sent out to the front lines to defend the indefensible. Her argument is a classic of the genre. Wait until next year. She told Sky News that the reason people are shouting at the darts is simply because they haven't felt the renewal in their bank accounts yet. She insists that Starmer has a clear vision and that public services will get back on their feet. It is a bold strategy, mostly because it relies on the British public being patient, a trait we are not exactly famous for when the price of a pint is heading toward £10. Turley's defence is that the government had to take difficult decisions to stabilise the economy. 6. We've heard that one before, haven't we? It's the austerity with a red tie defence. But while the government talks about investment in young people and building a tolerant Britain, the people at Ali Pali are looking at their energy bills and wondering if tolerance can be used as a fuel source. The disconnect is staggering. One side is talking about macroeconomic stability and long-term growth projections, and the other side is shouting "Pah" while dressed as a giant banana. The problem for Starmer is that wait and see doesn't work when your approval rating is lower than a Conservative leader on the day they get kicked out. You can't ask for patience when you've already been in the job for 18 months and the only thing that seems to have changed is the frequency of the protests. The pocket defence is a gamble. If the economy doesn't significantly improve by next Christmas, Anna Turley's promise that Starmer will absolutely still be there will look like a very grim piece of comedy.
Keir Starmer gets up in Parliament today at PMQs, and the first word that comes out of his mouth was talking about Jamaica and the hurricane. Now, don't get me wrong, it's sad what happened out there. But what about what's happening here, mate? A British man, Wayne Broadhurst, was out walking his dog in Uxbridge, stabbed to death by an Afghan illegal migrant for nothing, right? A 14-year-old boy was also stabbed by him, and a 45-year-old bloke is now being left with life.
Relatable analogies and the pacing of a collapse. Think of the Starmer premiership like a high-end restaurant that promised a Michelin star meal but keeps serving lukewarm porridge. The decor is nice, the waiter, Keir, is wearing a very expensive suit and speaks in very measured tones, but the food is simply not arriving. At first, the customers are polite. They check their watches, they have a bit of bread. But after 18 months of waiting for the main course, they aren't just leaving a bad review on Yelp. They are standing on the tables and booing the chef. The Ali Pali incident is the moment the customers started standing on the tables. It is a visceral, raw expression of "we've had enough," and for a man like Starmer, who prides himself on being the adult in the room, being treated like a pantomime villain is clearly taking its toll. You can see it in his public appearances. The jaw is tighter, the smiles are more forced, and the fury mentioned in the headlines is starting to leak out. He isn't just losing the public, he is losing his cool. The speed of this decline is what should worry the Labour Party. They went from a historic landslide to being mocked at the darts in record time. It is a fast-paced collapse that shows how fragile modern political mandates really are. In the age of social media and 24-hour news, you don't get a honeymoon period anymore, you get a honeymoon weekend, and by Monday morning, the divorce papers are already being drafted. Starmer is currently in the middle of a very messy, very public separation from the British electorate, and the Seven Nation Army chant is the soundtrack to the breakup. The road to next Christmas. So will Sir Keir Starmer actually be around next Christmas? Anna Turley says absolutely, but the betting markets and the mood in the pubs suggest otherwise. To survive, he doesn't just need to get net migration down, he needs to get the feel-good factor up. He needs to stop talking like a lawyer presenting a case to a judge and start talking like a leader who understands why people are angry. Because at the moment, the adult in the room is being outshouted by a room full of people who think he's a total bwaka. The challenge for the next 12 months is simple. Move the needle on the pocket issues before the chants move from the darts hall to the House of Commons benches. If the Labour insurrection becomes a reality, the Prime Minister will find that the C-word fury from the farmers was just the opening act. The real fury will come from his own MPs who are terrified of losing their seats at the next election. It is a high-stakes game of political darts, and Keir Starmer is currently struggling to hit the board. 7. While he aims for the bullseye of economic renewal, the public is busy shouting 180 at his failures. It is bold, it is witty, and it is a total mess for number 10. But for the rest of us watching the British Report, it is the most entertaining show in town. Thank you for watching.